The Butcher of Rostov, the south of Russia. A land of rich history and deep cultural roots. A place of vast plains, whispering forests, the Rostov region. Known for its serene beauty and tranquil countryside. It should have been tranquil. It became a nightmare. The peace was shattered by a series of gruesome events that would haunt the region for years. Because there, Andrei Chikatilo stalked. A man whose presence turned the serene landscapes into hunting grounds. He preyed on the innocent. His victims were often the most vulnerable members of society, young women, children, over 50 lives extinguished. Each life lost left a void in the hearts of their families and the community. His reign of terror, 1978 to 1990. 12 years of fear and horror that gripped the region. The world knew him as the Butcher of Rostov. The fear was palpable, whispers in the streets. People lived in constant dread, always looking over their shoulders, mothers clutching their children closer. Families became more protective, the sense of security shattered. Every stranger a potential monster. Chikatilo blended in, unassuming. He was the face in the crowd that no one suspected, a mask of normalcy hiding a depraved soul. His ordinary appearance was his greatest disguise. He used his position, a teacher, to gain trust. His role in the community allowed him to get close to his victims. A wolf in sheep's clothing. He was the predator hiding in plain sight, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The authorities were baffled. The brutality of the crimes and the elusive nature of the killer made the investigation challenging. The media frenzy added to the chaos. Headlines screamed of the Butcher of Rostov, fueling the public's fear and fascination. The community came together in their grief. Vigils were held and people sought solace in each other. Eventually justice was served. Chikatilo was captured, tried and convicted. The nightmare had ended, but the scars remained. The Rostov region began to heal. The sun rose again over the plains and forests, bringing with it a sense of hope and renewal. A trail of silence. His methods were chilling. The forest, with its thick canopy and creeping fog, became a silent witness to his heinous acts. Each step he took was calculated, each move meticulously planned. He thrived in the shadows, where the light barely touched the ground. The silence of the woods was his ally, masking the horrors that unfolded within. He would lure his victims with a sinister charm, promises of treats, candies and toys. His voice, soft and reassuring, masked the darkness within. The children, innocent and trusting, followed him without hesitation, their minds filled with the promise of adventure. He spoke of lost puppies needing help, of hidden treasures waiting to be found. The children, eager to please and excited by the tales, followed him deeper into the woods. Their laughter echoed through the trees, a stark contrast to the fate that awaited them. Anything to satisfy their innocent trust. They believed in the goodness of people, in the safety of their surroundings. Little did they know they were walking into a trap, a carefully laid plan by a man with no conscience. Then the darkness would descend. The sun would set, casting long shadows that seemed to reach out and grab them. The forest, once a place of wonder, turned into a labyrinth of fear. The path back home disappeared, swallowed by the encroaching night. He would lead them into the forest, away from prying eyes. The deeper they went, the more isolated they became. The trees closed in around them, creating a prison of nature. The children, now realizing their mistake, would try to turn back, but it was too late. The woods became his hunting ground, his sanctuary of savagery. Here, he was the master, the predator. The dense underbrush and shadowy trails provided the perfect cover for his monstrous deeds. He knew every inch of the forest, every hiding spot, every escape route. He would bind his victims, torture them. His acts defied description. In the abandoned clearings, far from any help, he unleashed his cruelty. The children's cries for help were swallowed by the vastness of the forest, unheard and unanswered. Each murder more brutal than the last. He mutilated their bodies. The forest floor, once a bed of leaves and life, became a graveyard of innocence. Signs of struggle were evident, but the forest kept its secrets well. A gruesome signature left on each one, a mockery of humanity. The bloody handprints on the trees, the disturbed earth, all told a story of horror. His reign of terror left a scar on the land, a trail of silence that spoke volumes. False confessions and missed opportunities. Years passed, the body count rose. The authorities were baffled, pressure mounted. They rounded up suspects, forced confessions, innocent men imprisoned. Still, the murders continued. Chikatilo, meanwhile, remained free. He even participated in the search parties. A chilling charade. He revelled in the fear, the power he held. His darkness continued to spread, unchecked. The authorities seemed powerless to stop him. The mask slips. In 1990, fate intervened. A police officer noticed him, loitering near a crime scene. His demeanour suspicious. He was questioned, released. But his name was noted. Andrei Chikatilo, a name that would soon be synonymous with horror. They began to watch him, his movements, his contacts, his past. A picture began to emerge, a pattern of disturbing behaviour. The net was closing. They needed evidence, proof to link him to the atrocities. The hunt was on. Unmasking a monster, they apprehended him. A search of his belongings revealed the truth. Blood-stained clothing, a knife, rope, items that linked him to multiple crime scenes. The evidence was irrefutable. Andrei Chikatilo, the unassuming teacher, was the butcher of Rostov. The news spread like wildfire. Relief mixed with horror. The monster had a face. The relief was short-lived. The interrogations began, and the true depths of Chikatilo's depravity were revealed. Inside the mind of a killer, he confessed to everything. The details were more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. Each word he spoke painted a vivid picture of his dark and twisted world. In chilling detail, he described his crimes, his victims, and his motivations. The police were left stunned by the sheer brutality and cold calculation behind each act. His notebook, filled with meticulous plans and observations, was a testament to his methodical nature. He spoke of his troubled childhood, years of sexual dysfunction, and the environment that shaped him. Growing up in a dilapidated house, surrounded by neglect and abuse, he found solace in the shadows of an old, abandoned playground. The bleak neighborhood was a constant reminder of his isolation and a warped sense of power and control. He described how the dark, ominous forest became his sanctuary, a place where he felt invincible. Standing alone in an empty field, he often fantasized about the power he could wield over others. The silhouette of a man looking over a city symbolized his desire to dominate and control. His confessions were a window into the abyss, a glimpse into the mind of a monster. The dark tunnel he described was not just a physical place, but a metaphor for his descent into madness. The isolated, empty street at night mirrored his own feelings of loneliness and despair. The close-up of a person's eyes looking distressed captured the torment he inflicted on his victims. Psychiatrists examined him, trying to understand the root of his evil. They walked through parks, pondering the complexities of his mind, and spent hours in the confines of mental institutions, debating his condition. The group of people in serious discussion outside represented the broader societal struggle to comprehend such malevolence. Was he insane, or simply evil? The debate raged, with psychiatrists flipping through notes trying to find clues. The exterior of the courthouse became a battleground for legal and moral arguments. People argued in public places, each with their own theories and beliefs about the nature of his crimes, and no easy answers could be found. The sunset over a desolate landscape symbolized the fading hope of understanding. The overcast sky above the city reflected the gloom that hung over the community. People looking puzzled in a park illustrated the collective confusion and fear that gripped society. Justice, at last. The trial was a media spectacle. The world watched in horror as the details of Chikatilo's crimes were laid bare. He showed no remorse. He seemed to relish the attention, the notoriety. The verdict was a foregone conclusion, guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to death, the only fitting punishment for his crimes. Some argued against it, saying it made him a martyr. Others believed it was justice served. A life for a life, 52 times over. The Shadow of the Butcher. On February 14, 1994, Andrei Chikatilo was executed with a single gunshot to the head. The world breathed a sigh of relief. The nightmare was over, but the scars remained. The families of the victims were left to pick up the pieces, haunted by the loss of their loved ones and the brutality of their deaths. They would never forget, and neither would the world. A legacy of fear. The case of Andrei Chikatilo sent shockwaves around the globe. It exposed the dark underbelly of humanity, the capacity for evil that lurks within. It forced people to confront their own mortality and their vulnerability. Even today, the name Chikatilo evokes fear, a reminder that monsters do exist, hiding in plain sight, waiting to strike. His legacy is a chilling one, a reminder of the darkness that can consume us all.